Turn it up.
Welcome to week 10, Train Up a Parent. Can I get a woo, woo? You did it. You're in the 95 percentile. You're in the 5 percentile that made it all the way through. And if you're watching out there, make sure you get to your flow chart that is in the book. We'll be going through the flow chart for the next couple weeks here. And we'll get into discipline. Discipline is what we'll be talking about for the next few weeks. We had to have a strong foundation. I said this in week 1. Discipline done wrong will do more damage than discipline, no discipline at all. And so it's very important that everything that we built upon, and we've given our children time, and we've done everything over the last 10 weeks, so that now we can begin to discipline. Now watch this scripture here in Proverbs 29:15. To discipline a child produces wisdom, but a child left undisciplined disgraces its mother. And you can see this, right? All throughout society. It has a disgrace to it when you see a child, maybe in a teenage or a junior high child, that has not had any direction in their life. And that's really what discipline is. It's important that we understand. Discipline is change of direction. That's what it is. So if you're doing it, and this is what makes the flow chart and everything that we do here for the next few weeks so powerful. Because if I think I'm disciplined, but it doesn't change the child's direction, it's not good discipline. Discipline will always change the direction. And we need to be able to do that all the way through our child, whether it's fits and tantrums when they're young, or fits and tantrums when they're teenagers, or hanging out with the wrong friends, or not getting good grades and not giving their best, right? Whatever the scope of it is in life, we want to make sure that we have equipped our children by the time they leave their house in a way that they have godly character on the inside that is navigating their life. For the most part, right? They're headed towards success. They have control over their emotions, that they have self-control over themselves, that they have integrity, that they love others, that we've instilled in them and equipped them in such a way that we send them off to be successful in the world. And remember that we parent today for what we want tomorrow. So discipline is, number 1, love has to be done in love. Discipline without love is abuse. So it has to be done in love. And number 2, it changes direction. And you'll find what's great about the flow chart that we're going through, that it adapts to every child, because every child's different. We've had 5. And what works for one doesn't work for another. And what I want you to grab a hold of is you have to find your child's kryptonite. Every child has kryptonite. And every child seems to be a little bit different in what works for a child and what changes the direction. So you're like, okay, this worked on Sally, and now we're trying it on Susie, but it doesn't work. So we don't just keep doing what doesn't work. We have to go, okay, we have to find out what Susie's kryptonite. And you see oftentimes with parents that raise boys and girls, that boys and girls are extremely different. I don't care what culture says, they're extremely different, right? So, you take a cell phone away from a girl sometimes, right, in the junior high, that blows her world up. She doesn't know what to do with it. Take it from the boy, he's like, whatever, right? Oftentimes for boys, they're like, okay, right? But if you take away maybe his video games, right? You're like, oh, there we go. We found his kryptonite, and we found her kryptonite. And so it's just important to see that. We had some great parents that went through Train Up a Parent. They were leaders for many years. And their daughter she wasn't changing her direction, but she was really into her clothes. So they said, fine. So she came home from school, and she's like, where's my clothes? And they had taken her entire wardrobe, because it was all right? It was all name brands and stuff. And they went down to Kmart when Kmart was around, and they bought her all Kmart clothes. And they said, when you begin to do better in school, you'll get your clothes back. How many people know that she got better in school real fast? She didn't like going to school in Kmart clothes. And that's what I'm talking about. They were like, okay, we had to change her direction.
I want to share something. I want to try and articulate this because in the first part, discipline is, first of all, it's love. When your changing of direction is motivated because you love the child and you know that it's going to be or assist their greater success, you will take the extra effort that it requires to figure out for each individual kid. And I think that it's important as parents to go, am I just wanting them to stop because it's annoying to me? Or is my frustration, really truly motivated from a position of loving them so much that I need to change this direction. So they go into, teenage years and adulthood better. And I think that that's so, it's very pivotal because it's very easy to discipline out of being frustrated and wanting whatever goofy behavior is going on to just stop in that moment. But it does have to be motivated out of a love that I love this kid so much that I want them to grow into a better adult, a better human. And I think that if we will just keep love as our motive in our parenting, all the other stuff is a little bit easier to do. The extra work it takes, the added thoughts, because it does take that. And as you get going through your day and you're busy and moms, maybe, there's multiple kids and you're just trying to get everybody to where they need to be. And you got the one that's just really giving you a hard time and you need it to stop in that moment. But when we're motivated out of changing behavior because we love them and we want them to be able to transition that behavior from every single environment they go into, it just gets a little bit easy. Like we're a little bit more energized because our motive is right. Our motive lines up with God's word. We love them so much that directional change is imperative. It's not just about getting them to stop because it's super annoying in the moment.
Love, and I love what Holly was saying there, because discipline takes work. It is easier, especially when they're younger, just to, they roll their eyes a little bit, when they're in 6th grade and just go, well, what's the big deal, right? They huff around the house a little bit, right? Discipline takes work, and it is easier just to ignore what we'll talk about here in the next few weeks, rebellious behavior. See, sometimes it's easier to just go, okay, right? But you have to realize that those are seeds that will grow up into a rebellious tree. And so a little bit of work up front saves you a tremendous amount of work on the back end. And so we have to be parents that we have the mentality that I love you too much to allow you to continue on this path. And I know it's going to take some work, and I know, right? And how many people know love is sacrifice? That's what love is. So I have to sacrifice sometimes even the love, because now you're upset at me because of the discipline. I have to sacrifice the love you have for me. But when you get older, you'll look back. I look back on the discipline I grew up in, and I go, thank you. Your discipline that you brought into my world is what produced the person that I am today. And so we have to have that, but we also have to have the mentality that I'll do whatever it takes to change your direction. It has to be our mentality as a parent. I see many parents almost like when the kids become teenagers, they're like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, you win. I have to win. I always win. Your life and your future is too important to me not to win. Yeah, when she sneaks out, to her boyfriend's house, what do? Whatever, I handcuff you. I'll to the bed. I'll sleep in your room. I'll put bars. Whatever I have to do, I will pick up and move. I will change schools. Here's the way I am. I won't lose. I don't like to lose, and I'm not going to lose when it comes to your future. I definitely not, because I know that the path that you're on is really going to make life extremely hard in your life. And I have to love you so much that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that I win in this moment. Whether hanging out with the wrong friends, what do? You change their friends. I don't know what to tell. I'll go to school with you. I'll hang out with you. Right? I'll be your only friend. I'll do what I will always win, because I'll win for your future. So that has to be our mentality that when we go into this.
I said this at the end of last time, and you said, oh my gosh, you should have shared that. And I didn't share it, so I'm going to share it here.
Yeah.
But keeping in mind, especially if you are in here right now and you are taking the class with kids that are already 10, 12, maybe 13, realizing as we step into these next couple of weeks that some of those behaviors that you possibly are like, this needs to change, were they allowed to be there for an extended amount of time? And could it be possible that some of the behaviors actually come from mom and dad? Don't tell her, but the other day my daughter did something and it was really annoying. And I was like, that's so annoying. And then, I got frustrated and she walked away and a little thing said, well, wonder where she got that from. And I thought, wow, yeah, you don't even have to point. This is exactly what I'm implying.
I know
That's
you
exactly what I'm saying. I'm admitting it. And so as we go into the next couple of weeks, just keeping in our mind, the name of this class is Train Up a Parent, because there's a lot of behaviors that have been allowed to exist because it's not information that we knew going into parenting. Maybe it's information we did know and it was just, not on our radar in that moment. And now it's a full-blown problem and it needs to change. But again, this motivation out of love, and then also acknowledging, hey, so sorry, you got that from me. Let's both try to not do that anymore, and going from that point of view. So, your turn.
All right, you got your flow chart on. All right, in the flow chart under S1, write in skills and talents, and then you'll see down a little lower B1, behavior. Skills and talents and behaviors. It's important, and we're going to do some identifications of different things in the next few weeks. We have to realize that there's a difference in life between skills and talents and behaviors. So we're going to treat things differently, right? And so we're going to treat skills and talents different than we do a behavior. So there's a skill to riding a bike. That's a skill and a talent. Not riding the bike in the road because I told you not to, well, that's a behavior. Making your bed, that's a skill, learning how to make your bed. But making your bed like you know you're supposed to before you go to school, that's a behavior. Hitting a ball with a bat is a skill. Hitting your brother with the bat is a behavior. Does that make sense? So we have to be able to identify the difference so that we don't treat a skill like a behavior and a behavior like a skill. So write down a skill. What we want to do, think about this for a skill. Obviously, life has a lot of skills that our kids want. We want to develop children who grow up who are self-motivated to do skills, who know that practice is important, that if I give myself to, if I want to be great at something, I got to practice it. And so we want to develop this in their lives so that as they grow up as adults, they're like, I want to be great at marriage. Well, I need to read a book. I need to practice. I need to go to marriage conferences, right? You find that they grow up and go, okay, in order to be great at something, anytime they're bad at something, they don't go, I'm just not good at it. Instead, they go, okay, how do I become good at it? Well, I learned as a child how to be good at different skills and talents in my life. And so write in S2, verbal praise. Once again, these are for skills and talents. Hitting a ball, doing baseball. And it's important in our verbal praise that we try to navigate in such a way that we point it back to practice, right? We try to praise. We want to encourage our kids, right? And so they're doing good on the baseball. You're like, you know what? I saw you throwing the ball outside, and man, that practice you did. Do you see how it paid off? Or at a piano recital, you're like, I saw, you've been practicing your piano for the last few months, and you rocked that. The practice. Do you see how practice? And so you're constantly pointing them back to the power of practice, the power of hard work. And it's important that we want to be a voice inside of them. They have voices going on. And I want my voice and Holly's voice to be on the inside of them that reminds them, okay, I didn't do good at this, but if I practice my math, I can be good at math. Right? I didn't do well here, but if I practice, I'll be good. And so we want our voice to be the loudest voice on the inside of them, because our kids will fail. Our kids will have moments where maybe they don't make the team. They'll have their moments. And I want to raise up kids that grow up as adults that go, oh, I lost my job. Okay, what did I do? Oh, I guess instead of blaming everybody in the world, they're ones that can take accountability and go, okay, I could have worked harder. I could have studied. I could have been better. Yeah, they go into a job and go, okay, I want to be great at this job. What do? I just show up. But instead, let me learn everything about the job, learn about other jobs, learn how and I develop this skill set inside of them.
One of the things that I am really, that I struggle with is, and this, I'm going to use this as an example as something to maybe not do and do the opposite. And it is what you're saying, this verbal praise. But I can get into that because it's just a personality thing where I can say, if you'd practiced more, and that's defeating. And it does the opposite of what we're trying to do and what we're sharing here.
You suck today, so here you go. Let me tell you why.
So as hard as it is to bite your tongue when they feel defeated, and it is because they didn't practice quite enough, it's very, very, very affirming to point out the tiniest detail of where whatever they did to practice, 30 minutes, I don't know, last week, not this week, whatever it is, to point out the tiniest, littlest detail that the practice did help with. And so I've been working on that, like, and we're hoping that we get there because, like, Savvy's 16, so maybe I'll be able to change it. But verbal
On the last
praise.
one, we got it. Nailed it. You're very good. You're very encouraging with the kids.
Yeah. Well, let's say that I get this, right. Maybe,
But I-
what,
but-
60-40?
But in that,
60-40%?
I mean, we are the parents that also on the way home go, hey, you didn't practice, right? And it's like a negative encouragement, but it is a reality. Hey, had you practiced, and we know, we watched, you played video games for all this time. Like, you didn't go out, you didn't do any, and so I don't think there's anything wrong with. Now, we want to try and praise more, but if you have a child that just is not practicing, well, that's not what Andersons do. Andersons practice, and we work hard. This is what we do.
And I think that is the point. You got there a little bit different, but that is my point. So there's nothing wrong with, affirming the practice did help, but maybe make that more important than,
And we do
the
mandatory.
ways that they didn't make.
And we also
the
do
mark.
mandatory practice. I don't care. That's fine. My kids all do a sport. Every kid will do a sport in high school. Why do we do that? I'm adding, this is extra goodies you don't get any other week. I'm adding this in there.
And music.
And music. They do music and they do a sport. Why is that? Because they need to be busy in high school. Right? The devil's workshop is when they're idle hands.
Idle hands.
Idle hands of the devil. I got there a different way too. I knew I was going to get the quote somehow. I knew the devil was in there somewhere. He's in the details too. And so, so our kids, it's not an option. I don't want to wrestle. Okay, well, there's a lot of things I don't want to do. I don't go to work today, but I guess I have to. And so, this life is a part of doing things that you don't want to do. Once again, right? You pick a sport, and the sport you pick, this is what we do. So the kids pick the sport, we're going to be great at it. They can pick a couple sports if you want. I don't care. But we do a sport, right? Savvy's got her tennis, and she does a tremendous amount with music. And she's very busy. And how many people know I like a busy teenager? I like a teenager that goes from the time she's up to the time she goes to bed. She's in all AP classes. This is what we do. And so it's important. And then all of my kids, I'll take you to wrestling practice. Yeah, you may not want to go, but this is what we do. We go to wrestling practice. You want to be great at wrestling? No, I don't. Don't care. Dad wants you to be great. So we're going to go Tuesday and Thursday, and we go to wrestling practice. This is what we do. Because once again, know this, that in their life, they'll grow up, and there's things that they don't want to do. They don't want to go to work every day, but we still go to work, and we still become great at work. This is what we build inside of our children. All right, so back to the normal stuff in here. So make it unexpected verbal praise is great. In front of other people is great. In front of grandma and grandpa, in front of other people, you give them some praise. S3 is goals and incentives. Once again, this is not for behaviors. This is for skills. So, hey, if you practice hard, right, and we would set cool goals when Baylor was in football, right? He was horrible at football. And so we'd set goals. Hey, Baylor, if you get a tackle, Dad's going to give you $1 for every tackle, that's no money at all. I just keep all my money, right? If you get, I almost got in trouble, though. I told Heath, I said, Heath, I'll buy you a laptop, a real nice one, like a Mac one. So it was like a $1,000 laptop. I said, but you got to take first in state in gymnastics when he was, I think he was like in 8th grade, 9th grade?
Yeah,
Maybe 7th grade, somewhere around there. Maybe junior high. And then here we go into the final event, and he's in first. And I'm like, no. I'm like, fall. I'm just teasing.
I think you did, Owen.
No, I didn't. No. He ended up taking third because he messed up a little. Oh, dang it. And so, no, I did. I actually wanted him to take first. But in my mind, there was a battle going, okay, I win either way. It's win-win. But anyway, give them, like, tying your shoes, Hey, if you learn to tie your shoe, if you learn to ride a bike, I always do that. If you learn to ride your bike, Dad's going to take you out for an ice cream. I wanted him to get strong. So Heath and Lakin, we put them both in gymnastics at the same time, and Heath immediately made it to the team. He was just naturally, they put him on, he could do chin-ups forever. First day there, the guy's like, hey, I did 20 chin-ups. I'm like, I can't do that, right? And so Lakin, right, I'm like, hey, Lakin, if you can do 10 chin-ups, Dad's going to buy you it was a little Nintendo game thing right there, right? And he never got it. But anyway, but he worked hard at trying to get it. Oh, I'm getting too personal with that. All right. But once again, we don't do it for behaviors. Like, hey, if you don't hit your brother today, I'm going to take you out for, that's a behavior. Right? It's for skills and for talents. Once again, we don't raise a shamu that does behaviors for a little fish, but instead, skills and talents are different. All right, so now let's go to behaviors in B1. And it's all about the heart. And I can't iterate how important it is. If you had to pick between skills and talents and behaviors are going to give them a great life. Great, you can hit a baseball. Woo! Yeah, you're done with that by the time you're out of high school. But you can't love and you can't be kind and you're not a giver. You're right. So behaviors are ultimately have to be our biggest focus that we have in our children's life. This is what's going to give them a great life. Hitting a softball, hitting a tennis, that's cool. That's great. But that's not going to give them an excellent, amazing life.
Well, it's scriptural.
Right.
Because God looks at our heart. And so the heart it matters. And so we need to make that so important. We need to make their heart and grab their heart, get their heart. They have our heart. I want to have their heart. I mean, they have my heart. I want them to have, yeah, you know what I mean.
Exactly, yeah. Devil's in the details.
That was really, really, really hard.
All right, there's two parts that we'll be going through in when it comes to behaviors. There's a positive side and a negative, right? And we want to try and be parents who focus most on the positive we can, which it is. If you're doing this, then you'll find yourself 90% in dealing with the positive side of discipline, changing direction of behavior. And then there's the 10%, maybe 5% that you'll deal with the negative. So in B2, we're going to start with the positive side of it. B2 is encouragement. This is for behavior, so it's different than skills and talents, right? They did a good behavior. You know, they came home with some great grades. They shared with their brother. You notice them, you know, they shared with their brother. They went to Grandma and Grandpa's house, and they were great. And so we give them some encouragement. We elevate the good. And once again, if you want to focus on the good, then you have to look for it. So we have to be people that look for the good. Sometimes if we have a couple kids at the store and one's misbehaving, right, we focus on the negative, but nobody said, hey, great job over here to Johnny, who was great. And here's the thing, Dr. Phil says this. He says, we are motivated by feeling good. So when a child feels like, hey, my behavior, right, and my parents were proud and they said something, right, it feels good to behave right. It feels good to do good. Then they'll be more inclined to behave. And so we really want to focus on looking for, in all the circumstances that we're doing, when our child, because you can become a parent that just focuses on when they are misbehaving. But you miss the 95% of the time that they were behaving. And so then what do they tend to do, right? And so we want to focus on the good.
I remember one time when Savannah was little and we were at the store and she was just being so obnoxious. And I said, oh, I'm so glad. I so love when you're, listening and when you're doing what I'm asking you to do. And she's such a little smarty. And she looked at me, she's like, but I'm not. And I go, yeah, I know, that's my way of kind of it's called reverse psychology, and I'm trying to get you to do that. And doesn't it feel good? Doesn't it feel good to hear me tell you how great it is that you were behaving? And she was like, but I wasn't. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I'm trying to tell you that if you will, I'll tell you what a great job. And she's like, and so it was so funny because then she's like, oh, okay. And then she gave me what I was asking for. But it's just an example, again, of there's always a way, and it's so easy to use the negative aspect because it just comes out of us. It's like, please knock it off. Stop doing what it is you're doing. It's super annoying. And I can't get what I need to get done while you're doing that. Knock it off. But even in a joking manner, me going, I just so love that you're listening to me. And she stops doing the annoying thing. And she's like, but I'm not. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but I'm trying to commend you on doing it because I know now you will. Oh, okay. And then I got the result that I wanted. So it's
change direction.
Yeah, but whatever it's in a creative way. And it's like it's hard because our knee-jerk reaction is just to get results right then and any way we can, and it's usually by saying, knock it off, stop it. It's annoying. But look for the good. And keep the positive on the front of your lips and the front of your mind and say that instead.
The boys played great together in the room, right, for an hour. And then all of a sudden it got all rowdy and you come in, you're like, ah. Instead you come in and go, oh my God, you guys did a whole hour of playing great together. I'm so proud of that. Hey, let's not do that. But I'm very proud that you guys won a whole hour. Let's see if we can do another hour. And so you can turn things around. Pre-activity. E1 pre-activity, write that down. And this is a game changer. It really is. When we grabbed a hold of this, when Lakin was like 3 or so, it changed our entire parenting life. And so you start off with E2, which is a verbal reminder. This is, right? And so you have to get in the habit of this, especially with your young ones, but you can work it all the way up. And it's just reminding. So kids, Their minds are everywhere. Pew, 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 right? It's boys, especially. Well, men can't even keep, right? So you think about your boys where their mind is. And so you want to preload them with the behavior that you want. All right, we're going to Grandma and Grandpa's, remember? We don't touch anything. We don't go in and out of the house, in and out of the house. We say please, we say thank you. And you preload them up. So now the goal is I don't have to discipline you because I preloaded you. But you get there and they're boo, 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 because they forgot. They're 4 years old, they forgot. So we want to preload them with what we want. And E3 is, and this is powerful, Holly added this, is questions. So what's more powerful than me telling you is you telling me. That's more powerful. So we're going to the store, right? And Holly would go, all right, how do we act in the store? And then let the kids then go, all right, we don't run, we stay by mom, right? We don't touch stuff, we don't ask for candy, right? And so they begin, so they're loading it, right? As you speak it, faith cometh by hearing. So what you believe is what you begin to speak. So she gets them already to begin to speak it. It was funny because we were going into Walmart. I think Peyton was like 3 years old. I'm like, all right, guys, what do we act? And they're like, all right, we don't touch stuff. And then Peyton goes, and we don't pee on the floor. And I go, yes, you are 100% correct. That's something we don't do. And but we preload it. Preload them, so ask them questions. I think that's important. You have to get in the habit of this. This will save you, I can't even tell you the percentage of times you have to discipline if you simply get in the habit before you go anywhere that you remind. We do it with a grandchild. Hey, we're going in here, all right. And so we preload the grandchild up. Yeah, this is the one. E4 is positive words. This is another one that Holly added into this.
Well, they will always, the don't. I promise you, I think you hear don't, and you just automatically tune people out, right? Even myself, because you feel, what's the word? Like you feel like you're being controlled. Don't do this. And so there's always a way to say the don't with a positive spin. So you can say, hey, we're getting ready to go in the store. Remember, please walk. It just...
You don't say, don't run.
Yeah, because,
please walk.
We don't like that kind of demand ourselves or command.
Right.
And so, and we are the parents, so, I get it. As an authority figure, there's going to be moments where you are commanding and demanding. But I think that it just, again, makes everything a little bit more lighthearted. Hey, guys, we're going to go over here. Please remember, say please and thank you.
Right.
Rather
Instead
than
of going, don't be loud.
Don't
You're
be rude.
Hey, please be quiet.
Please use indoor voices. That was a big one. I'd go, oh, please use your indoor voice or inside voice. And even the way you say a positive ask is different. There's even just a different connotation to it. There's a different, the way we even say it. I'm spacing on what that is, but there we go, the inflection. Even your inflection when you're speaking positive comes off so much more positive and happy.
E5 is post-activity. So we got our pre-activity, and that'll eliminate. You'll be surprised at how much that changes. You'll see it. We saw a dramatic change when we began to do that especially in your toddlers and your third graders, fourth graders. We saw a great change. But then, how important is the post-activity? Don't forget, we preload them, but then once again, kids do what feels good. Are you the parents that are always so proud, right? Oh my God, you're leaving some friend's house, the kids, you're in front of them, it's so powerful. You say, man, kids, you did so well. You're so well behaved. And they'll go, yeah, you kids were so well. Hey, you leave McDonald's, you're like, oh my gosh, you guys did phenomenal. I'm so proud of what you did. And so don't miss out the opportunity to make them feel good for doing good. Once again, our goal as a godly character is that there's an intrinsic motivation that feels good when I do good. We have to start out by being that voice, and then as they grow up, they'll have that own voice that goes in there like, that felt good. Yeah, I worked hard today. That felt good. That was nice. I loved on my wife today. That felt good. And so we're being that voice in their life. Don't miss an opportunity to encourage your kids when they've done something great. Don't miss it. Really look for it. E6 is praise. Praise with touch is very powerful, especially men out there, but it's very powerful, especially for a son. There's just a little, hey, great job. Proud of you. You did great. Right? There's something with the touch, right? And it goes to the daughter. I give my daughter a little hug. I'm like, you did phenomenal. I'm very proud of you. wow, you're amazing, right? And so you give them the praise, add a little touch, and then E7 is reward. So post-activity, it can't be every time, right? I take the kids, when they were younger, go to the store, we get all the way to the end, and I'm like, you guys are incredible, you guys did so good. Get some candy, right? Right? And so it wasn't a bribe because I didn't tell them ahead of time, if you're good, I'm going to give you candy. It was more just, and life rewards good behavior, right? Life does reward that sometimes, not all the time. But then you have to be careful because if you get to the end, the kids are like, all right, we get candy now. You're like, then I go, nope, there's no candy today. We don't get candy because you don't behave to get candy. Candy is just a reward that Dad will give you once in a while. When I feel like it just fits. You know, we did something amazing, awesome. Like, let's go get ice cream. We load it up and we go to ice cream. It's not every time they do something great. So it can't be every time, but there's nothing wrong with you rewarding behavior when they didn't know that they were going to get a reward, and you do it at the end.
Well, and even verbal, like teaching them an intrinsic way of rewarding themselves just to be proud of the accomplishment and the work that they did. And so it sounds something like, how did that make you feel? That was amazing what just happened. How do you feel having just now done that? And let them tell you. Sometimes it's not even a something. It's not even a physical reward. It's just you pointing them to find and dig deep on the inside of what that thing they just did, how it made them feel, how it feels to do the extra practice, how it feels to have obeyed mom and dad, maybe especially in a time when before it wasn't a usual behavior thing that they would give you.
Amen.
So I definitely encourage you to encourage your kids to find the reward on the inside of them too, and that God's proud of them.
Amen. So tonight was all about the kind of the positive side of changing behavior. But if we focus on the positive in this next week, you'll see that we don't need a lot of negative.
That's right.
And that's why we teach that first, and why we really put an importance of a whole week of making sure you realize that we can change direction in a positive manner most of the time. But sometimes we can't, and we have to have the negative. And next week, we're going to be talking about all the negative ways in which we can change direction, which is ultimately one of the most powerful weapons that we have in a sense. But it's such a small percentage of discipline. It really is. It's a very tiny part of discipline. The 90% should be the positive side. Amen? All right. If you learn anything at all, give the Lord a big hand clap.